Ahoj, vítejte na mém kanále Czech by Zuzka, kde vám pomocí angličtiny vysvětluju českou gramatiku. Dneska se znovu podíváme na téma, jak přeložit slovo again do češtiny. In the first part I told you that zase or zas are the words that we use the most and they work in most of context. And that the second choice for translating again was ještě jednou, which specifically means once more. That works for many phrases and for some of them it doesn't. Today I will show you where it doesn't work and I'll also talk about the other three words, znovu or znova and opět. Technically 2 words only. I also mentioned the scale of formality. This is good to keep in mind. Zase is informal and zas is even more informal. Ještě jednou is somewhere in the middle. Opět, on the other hand, is very formal. Znovu as well, and znova is informal. One thing that I would like to mention, and I didn't last week, and one of the viewers pointed it out, that ještě jednou could also be pronounced as ještě jednou, which is very, very informal. And because we use it so commonly, it's good to keep it in mind. Ještě and ještě are the same words, but ještě is a colloquial form. But it's definitely handy to know about it so you can understand when people tell you ještě jednou. I left the sentences that I showed you at the end of the last video. Let's see if we can replace ještě jednou in these sentences with another one of those words that we saw before. If you ask someone for repetition, you cannot say zase prosím. Opět doesn't work either. You could say znovu prosím. That kind of works. Znovu or znova. Znovu prosím. Ještě jednou moc děkuju. Thank you so much again. The only possibility that could work would be znovu moc děkuju again. Or znova. But it doesn't sound so well. Opět moc děkuju is very, very formal and I wouldn't really use it. Ukaž mi tu fotku ještě jednou. Show me this picture once more. If you said ukaž mi tu fotku zase, that sounds like you've seen it before. It was not just right now at this moment. It was maybe yesterday. It sounds like you're excited, that you really like this picture and you want to see it. Ukaž mi zase tu fotku. Show me this picture again. I like it so much. That would work, but it would be a little bit different. Ještě jednou tells us that we want to repeat something immediately after it happened, or as soon as possible, as well as here. Tak pojedeme ještě jednou. Let's do this. Let's go one more time. Tak pojedeme zase. That sounds like we will go again in the future. There's a little bit more time between these two events. I could say tak pojedeme znovu or znova. And here as well. Ukaž mi tu fotku znovu. That's why in the graph I showed you that ještě jednou and znovu or znova are interchangeable in some contexts, more than the other words. Let's take a look at the word znovu and its informal variant, znova. They can be translated as again or once more, from scratch, or also anew, to start something anew, because last week I told you that znovu or znova comes from the adjective nový, so it's hidden right here. Let's take a look at some sample sentences that you could use with this word. Imagine you're trying to reach Mr. Dobek at his office. You make a call in the morning and he's not in the office. And they tell you, pan Dobek není v kanceláři. Zavolejte prosím znovu odpoledne. Please call again in the afternoon. The call was not successful, you didn't speak to him, so you have to start all over in the afternoon. Make the call and see if he's in the office. Zavolejte prosím znovu odpoledne. Informally it could also be zavolejte prosím znova odpoledne. But I think znovu would be more fitting, like more official. Přečti si to znovu. Read it again. Přečti si to znovu. Read it again from the beginning. Because you didn't understand it or you didn't manage to find whatever you needed to look for. Here we could easily say přečti si to znova. If your friend tells you, they would probably be saying přečti si to znova. Nebudu to opakovat znova. Poslouchejte. Listen, because I won't be repeating this again. Nebudu to opakovat znovu. Nebo nebudu to opakovat znova. Or someone wants to say they have no regrets. They can say this sentence. Kdybych mohl, udělal bych to všechno znovu. If I could, I would do it all over again. From scratch, starting anew. Znovu could be replaced by ještě jednou in some contexts. Maybe here we could say zavolejte prosím ještě jednou odpoledne. It works, but it's not the best. It sounds like you are gonna try it one more time to achieve something, but they just want to tell you that you need to do it again, not specifically just one more time. But here you could say, přečti si to ještě jednou. Do it once more, because that once more is gonna do it. You will understand it better. Přečti si to ještě jednou. Here, because we have the word opakovat, it's redundant. Although I told you that we often use opakovat ještě jednou. But if we were being proper, we would not say ještě jednou, because ještě jednou means it's repeated once more, and opakovat is to repeat. Kdybych mohl, udělal bych to všechno ještě jednou. It's okay. You want to emphasize that I would do it again, one more time, because it was so good. Or another example with znovu. Imagine you are filling out a form on the computer, you save it, and then you do something else and you want to go back to it and finish the form, but it didn't save somehow. All the data was erased, so you have to do it again. Formulář se neuložil a musím to psát všechno znova. The form didn't get saved and I have to write it all over again. From scratch, from the beginning. Formulář se neuložil a musím to psát všechno znova. You can say všechno znova or celé znova. The whole thing again. So here you get the idea that znovu or znova means to start from the beginning, do something again from the beginning because it was not successful, which is somewhat similar to ještě jednou, but ještě jednou is specifically talking about once more. And if you want to replace these sentences by zase, it would slightly change the meaning. Although zase means again, it would sound like there was a little bit more time in between. Or it sounds like this is something that happens regularly. For example, if the secretary tells you, zavolejte prosím zase odpoledne, it's like, I was nice chatting with you. Just call again in the afternoon. We'll be happy to listen. It invites for a repetition, zase. And now let's take a look at the last word that we can use to translate again in Czech, and that is opět. It's very formal, and it can be translated as again, in the sense of come for more. Do you know the word zpět or zpátky? That means back. These words are related. Zpět, back, and opět, back and wanting more. Let's look at a few examples. Opět se na vás obracím s prosbou. Remember, opět is very formal, and this could be a line that you use in a formal email when you're reaching out to someone asking for a favor. I'm reaching out to you again with a request. Opět se na vás obracím s prosbou. This is a really nice sentence that you can use when you want to ask someone for a favor formally. Byla to opět vítaná změna. It was again a welcome change. Byla to opět vítaná změna. Or you can imagine a newspaper headline. Hra paní podplukovníková opět v divadle. And this means the play, the theater play, the colonel's wife is again in the theater. So the theater play has returned and they're performing it again. Another line taken from a newspaper. Opět se můžete těšit na tradiční hudební akci. Again or once again, you can look forward to a traditional musical event. Maybe this is something that happens every year. This event has returned. Opět se můžete těšit na tradiční hudební akci. I told you that opět is very formal, so I don't recommend to replace it with zase. If you say zase se na vás obracím s prosbou, it could be taken the wrong way. It could sound like, oh, here I go again. Remember that zase can express frustration. Maybe that person that you're reaching out to could think, už zase se na mě obrací s prosbou. Here goes again he's or she's reaching out to me. Or zase v divadle. It doesn't sound so good. Here it's okay. Maybe the newspaper is writing in a more informal style, so we could say zase se můžete těšit na tradiční hudební akci. Ještě jednou doesn't work here because that means it's gonna happen only one more time. It's definitely not here. If you use ještě jednou in this case, it means that it's going to be played one more time and then it's done. If you say ještě jednou here, it obviously means that you want to make sure you are asking for one more favor and then you're done, which you might not know. You could use znovu. That works because znovu is formal. If you say znovu se na vás obracím s prosbou, it may sound like you need a little bit more because it didn't do it the first time. I could see that znovu would work well here. Znovu se můžete těšit na tradiční hudební akci. Starting a new season and it is here again as well as here. Znovu v divadle. It has returned and it is starting a new season. I want to come back to ještě jednou, one more time, or zase, here I am again. Ještě jednou is also commonly used when you give some kind of a condition, more like a warning. You know when you're upset with someone and you want to say, you say this one more time and you'll see, I'm gonna get really angry. Ještě jednou to řekneš a uvidíš. So this is something that you could hear from an angry grandparent or a parent or a teacher. Ještě jednou to řekneš a uvidíš.
Cože? Ještě jedno, cože? Řekni to ještě jednou, varuju tě, já tě varuju, ty šmejde. Řekneš to svý, cože, ještě jednou.
You might have noticed that ještě jednou, when we ask for something to be done again, doesn't work with negative. Usually doesn't have a negative verb unless it's a condition in a form of warning like this. Imagine there is a class and there is a student that often doesn't show up at the university, for example. Sometimes he comes, sometimes he doesn't, and the teacher gets frustrated. So when the student shows up, the teacher will warn him by saying, ještě jednou nepřijdete a jste vyloučený. If you don't come one more time, you are expelled. So this is a condition in a form of a warning. Here it's okay to use ještě jednou with negative because it's a condition. Literally, you don't come one more time and you're expelled. But when you have a verb in negative and it's not this kind of a warning, it wouldn't work with ještě jednou. So imagine that there is a woman that you often talk to at a store somewhere and you want to ask her name and you always forget. So one time you forgot to ask her again. You can say, zase jsem se jí nezeptal na jméno. Again, I didn't ask her name. Zase or zas. Zas jsem se jí nezeptal na jméno. You cannot say ještě jednou jsem se jí nezeptal because that cannot be repeated. It doesn't sound right. Now the last part of our video. Let's translate 3 sentences into Czech. The first sentence is, could you explain that again? I'll start by putting all the words except again. So if you want to work on this, you can pause the video and then check with me. Could you explain that? Let's say you are talking to a friend, so it'll be informal. Mohl bys, because this is conditional. Mohl bys, explain that. To vysvětlit, that's explain. And now we are waiting for again. How could we translate that? Mohl bys to vysvětlit? Once again, we could say, mohl bys to vysvětlit ještě jednou. I didn't understand it the first time. Could you do it one more time? Ještě jednou. We could also say znovu. We want it to be explained from the beginning. Or znova, the informal version. If you say, mohl bys to vysvětlit zase, it sounds like that person explained something last week, for example, in the last lesson. And now you're asking for explanation. After some time, mohl bys to vysvětlit zase works as well, yeah. Opět, it could work, but it's just so formal. I wouldn't use it here. Now the kitchen is clean again. Teď je kuchyň. And actually, it would be better to put again before clean in Czech. Teď je kuchyň, blah, blah, blah. Čistá, we could say that it's clean as in sparkling clean, or it was tidied, so we could say uklizena. Uklizena would be like tidy. The first option that comes to my mind, it would sound the best, is zase. Teď je kuchyň zase čistá. Or zas, if we want to be more informal. Ještě jednou čistá, no, doesn't work. Znovu čistá, znova čistá. Doesn't sound very well to me. I could think of opět, but that would be very, very formal. Maybe if you're watching a commercial. A teď je kuchyň opět čistá. So these would be my choices. But zase is the best fit when you want to be informal. Let's see the last sentence. Mrs. Dvořáková was not home again. I want to deliver this and she was not home again. Paní Dvořáková nebyla doma, that means she was not home. And if you want to add that special word, she was not home again, frustration, that could be zase. But it's better to put it here. Paní Dvořáková zase nebyla doma. Or zas. Paní Dvořáková zase nebyla doma. Paní Dvořáková opět nebyla doma. Very, very formal, but it's possible. It doesn't sound too strange. It's just very, very formal. Ještě jednou nebyla doma doesn't work because it's negative. Znovu nebyla doma. It's possible. Znova nebyla doma, but not my first choice. I will put it here in brackets. Okay, so this is all from me. I know that this was quite a bit of work. My advice to you is listen for sentences around you and remember that zase and ještě jednou are the words that we use the most. Remember not to use ještě jednou all the time because ještě jednou means specifically only once more. And it is usually used with communication or simply repeating a task, repeating a sentence. Read as much as you can in Czech. Listen as much as you can. If you want to study more Czech, remember to see my website. You can look for an ebook for free. You can buy my ebook Just in Case, focused on Czech grammatical cases, or you can also download worksheets in this section. Some of them are for free. Thank you so much for supporting my work by watching videos, liking, sharing and purchasing courses and material from me. Mějte se krásně a uvidíme se zase za týden. Ahoj!